Oh, hi, I didn't see you there. My name is Bliss Foster. Let's answer some fashion questions.
Why do we lose interest in things that are overhyped?
Mostly because trends suck. Trends are other people telling you what things you should like. I suspect that people lose interest in things that are trendy because they didn't actually like them in the first place. They just liked the belief that other people thought that they were trendy. I don't know. What is everyone thinking when they're like getting trendy stuff? Even if you're just kind of like, no, I'm just obsessed with this certain sneaker. If it happens to be like the most hyped sneaker of the moment, I don't believe you. I think that you just really want all of your friends to be like, yo! Go find weird stuff that you like. Some of the Rick Owens stuff is like super overhyped right now. I love Rick Owens. You know what Rick Owens stuff I get? Weird tunics with like ribbons coming off of them. Like, I love this shit. I think it's so cool. And what's great is that I'm perfectly capable of wearing this in 2 years because this is not going to go in or out of style. For all intents and purposes, it's mine. I've never seen a single other person online or in real life that has this tunic. Also, it's practical as hell. Like, I mean, look at, okay, so phone. This is a chest pocket in this thing. Phone. This is a case that I carry my audio in. Slip that right in there. And I mean, it looks like I have a weird like bionic breast now, but it is successfully carrying both of those things. I think there's actually another pocket in this. Hang on. Oh, there is. Yeah. More stuff. He's still going. OMG. He's still going. There's still room. It's very practical. You could like take this on hikes and stuff. Don't follow trends. Trends suck. I actually am gonna tuck this up here. That way I do not accidentally sit on it.
What is the relevancy of fashion criticism as it doesn't particularly dictate consumer behavior?
That is such a good question. I also checked the footage and I don't like how this looks, so we're gonna take this back out. That's a great question. What is the point of fashion critics? Okay, so to your point, like a video game critic, those guys really do dictate how people spend their money. When a game is coming out and you're pre-ordering it or you're buying it right after it comes out, that's like $60. Like for everybody, that is a lot of money. And so those people's opinions about those games do dictate how people spend their money. No one is checking with fashion critics before they go to the Prada store. So what's the point? Why am I exist? I noticed something around the beginning of the rise of the Spotify era. I noticed that despite me paying $8.99 a month for Spotify and getting access to literally all of music, I was still going, at the time, this is like 10 years ago, going to Pitchfork and reading reviews of albums. Faster than I could access the review to that album, I could have the album playing. Why am I doing this? And I found that I just really liked how certain writers at Pitchfork were able to kind of help me understand the album. I think this is why a lot of people turn to Anthony Fantano. I love Anthony Fantano. It's because I can like something or not like something. I'm perfectly capable of making up my own mind about that. But there is something to wanting to dive deeper and understand that thing. If I see a movie or if I see like some studio art that like Bliss, that I really, really like, what I immediately want is I want an Anthony Fantano type person to say, hey, I've reviewed all of this person's stuff. I understand how the full length of that movie fits into the full breadth of that artist's work, and I can kind of explain that context to you. And if you liked that movie, I can maybe help you get to an understanding of why you liked it so much. That's what I feel like my purpose is. Fashion has suffered a lot, I think, from not being taken very seriously. The people that design this stuff oftentimes are ferociously smart people. There's social commentary, there's symbolism, there's references, there are really well-formulated ideas that exist within fashion collections that just don't get talked about very much. I noticed that nobody else was kind of providing commentary on that, and I had some things to say about it, so I gave it a shot, and now it's my job. I personally really love what I do. I hope that this provides value, but that's what I feel the purpose of Fashion Critics is now, is to provide a deeper context and more information about art that people have already made up their minds about. What they are for sure not now is just the deciders of good and bad. Hey, pal, you need to come to me to tell you when you like something.
Do you think social media is impacting fashion more negatively or positively?
I don't know, people who have watched a lot of this channel probably know that I'm going to give some kind of like, it's not good, it's not bad, it's just different. And I sort of am, but there is some nuance to this. Boo, Bliss has no opinions. Why don't you stand for something, Bliss? And that actually is another thing. I'm sorry to go back to the other question. If fashion critics are just like sitting here being like, I don't like military inspired stuff. This collection was a no for me. Who would watch that? I obviously have personal opinions about everything. I do not think that should factor into my work at all. Occasionally I'll let it slip if I like really love something and I'll just kind of be like, this is it. But for the most part, I don't think anybody would come here and give me their time, let alone pay me every month to just, sorry. Okay, is social media impacting fashion more negatively or more positively? Here's the deal about that. Social media has changed the way that fashion design actually happens. Right now, clothes are primarily being designed so that they can be photographed. So that makes it where things now are very, very noticeable. I mean, like the top that I'm wearing, this is a great example of that. This is designed to be very, very unusual looking. It is very striking, and the things that make it different are immediately apparent. Back in the 90s and the early 2000s, it was a much more like subtle is kind of a weird way of putting it, but it was a much more subtle time in fashion design where things were not necessarily being designed so that you could notice that they were a designer piece of clothing from 5 feet away. It was more something where you needed to get up and you needed to be able to touch it and try it on and like be like, wow, the pockets are done in such a crazy way. That's nuts. I've never seen pockets like this before. Folks, listen, I don't have a great idea this week for the Patreon plug, and Isaac is at a job interview. Please join my Patreon. I'm running a company over here, living at my parents' house, trying to make this thing work. If y'all could just join up the Patreon, there's a lot of awesome stuff that you get with it. You get to join the private Discord, you get exclusive videos, you get tons of extra extended interviews, you get the full Margiela series. It's a total party. You should just do it. Help me move out of this house. Oh, hi, I didn't see you there. My name is Digital Beggar. Okay, this is a super important question. Do you think pain and suffering is necessary to create art? Okay, I realize that a lot of us have turned on this video for like background entertainment purposes. I need you to stop what you're doing and like come in here for a second. This is the most important thing that's going to get said in this video. The answer to that question is no. Inflicting suffering on your own life is not going to make you a better artist. I'm 32, and over the course of my adult life, I've watched a lot of friends try to increase their artistic output by making their lives more miserable, and there just isn't anything there. I've watched people, like literally destroy their own lives in search of this weird idea, and it is evil. That idea is evil. There is nothing there for you at the bottom of the pit. What will make you a better artist is to take care of yourself and to learn how to be productive. And there is something that's very like romantic about like, oh my gosh, I'm such a tortured artist. Like, everything is just, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be like overly simplistic or trite here. That can be really cute if you're like in college. It becomes way less cute when you're out in the adult world. It just becomes sad. I'm not by any means trying to make light of real psychological issues. If you are someone who struggles with depression or anxiety, those are real things about you, and those things are things that you should take seriously and address. But trying to formulate that into your mind as like, this is a good thing that is a part of my personality, and I really need to focus on this because that is the pathway to better art, this is a total lie. Take care of yourself. Treat the parts of your life that are difficult. Treat those things seriously. And I'm only bringing it up because I know a lot of people who have actually done this. If you need to be taking medication in order to keep yourself balanced and be able to live your life well, do not stop taking that medication so that you can make better art. There's some pretty dark stuff that can come out of that. Do whatever you'd like. I'd warn you against it. Okay. Thank you for listening. Back to it.
Do fashion designers need to learn pattern cutting, or is pattern cutting a separate specialization?
The short answer to that is yes, you need to learn pattern cutting. Are there huge fashion designers that do not know how to pattern cut? Absolutely there are. Are there fashion designers that I like a lot, that Bliss likes a lot, that do not know how to pattern cut? Yes, there are. But here's the deal. You cannot effectively be a leader of pattern cutters unless you understand what their craft entails. When someone is saying, hey, we can't really make it like this because, like the tension won't be right with the whatever. There's a lot of power that comes to you as a leader when you're able to say, the tension can be right on this. I've done things like this myself. You need to do it like this and this. Otherwise, what you as a designer will be subject to is other people will be leading your vision around and dictating how that actually gets executed. You do not want this. Factories, your employees, everybody. You do not want those people to be telling you how your vision needs to be. You want to be a designer that can have an uncompromising vision and see that vision through into real life product. And the only way you can do that is by knowing how to make clothes. I know it's hard. Creative people don't like engineering things, and that's kind of what pattern cutting is. It's engineering. You need to learn how to do it. And hey, wait, here's the deal. You can do it. If it is part of your dream, if you feel it in your body that I'm supposed to be a fashion designer, this is what I'm meant to do, learning pattern cutting is not going to be able to stop you from that. Take it seriously, focus on it, really devote yourself to doing it. But that's a hurdle that you've got to jump over, and you can jump over it. You can do it.
Do you have a favorite fashion store?
Yes, I do. I'm going to split these into categories because there's different types of fashion stores, right? My favorite fashion boutique is a store called Antidote in Atlanta. This place is wild. The interior design of this place is nuts. The building is gorgeous. They built it from the ground up. The outside of it is this like late Art Deco movement type stuff, and the interior is, I'm sure there's a name for it. Interior design people, please help me out. My favorite thing about this place though, the visual impact is huge, but like my favorite thing about this place is the buying philosophy. They only buy stuff based on the merits of its design. So there's no logo pieces. There's no logo t-shirts that are on the buy list for this place. It is only things that have really interesting, well-designed elements to it. Antidote is my favorite boutique. My favorite monobrand store is probably the Rick Owens store in Soho. It is huge. The ceilings are so high. It is such an intimidating, austere space. It's wonderful. The look of that store is just so on brand. It's so Rick Owens. It's perfect. And then my favorite like mega store is Dover Street Market. It has to be. There's 7 stories. Everything is just full of like the wildest stuff from every brand that you can imagine. The most like niche brands in the world. They've got like a full run of everything. It's just Dover Street Market is home. It's the best. Here is a super interesting question, and I don't know how I'm going to answer this. We're not going to do the voice on this one so that no one gets confused. Okay. Why is cohesion so important? Why does every fashion show have to have a theme? And why can't fashion designers have collections of what I would call life? Can chaos be a design element, or is it difficult to execute so it doesn't look all over the place? I would say that a lot of times cohesion in fashion collections is done so that you can sell it. There are other reasons too, but I think that the number one reason why someone wouldn't just say like, let's create like a ball gown and I also want to do futuristic Berghain look. I think the reason that people don't do that is because usually the person who will buy the ball gown is not the same person who wants a futuristic Berghain look. And what you're ultimately wanting to do is you're wanting to have lifelong fans that are going to want to follow your brand season after season. I would also say that the medium of fashion design is pretty different than most other art mediums. I mean, there are people who only end up making a handful of movies in their entire life. And so when they're doing that, they sort of are thinking like, okay, this is going to be like one of my maybe 3 movies ever. So this is going to be my magnum opus. This is going to be the movie that's about life itself. Even the fashion designers that say like we show off calendar and we just show whenever we want, they end up showing every 6 to 8 months. So I mean, you do have a really big challenge ahead of you if you want to just make a collection about life itself, because then the next question is, what are you making next? And what are you making after that? And after that? And after that? If you have a solution to that, go for it. Like, that sounds incredible. That sounds so cool. I would love for there to be a fashion brand about life itself. That does sound extremely challenging to me. I can't wait to see it.
Vape or Supreme?
I don't really like picking between things. I think everybody sort of like has their own merits and like different goals and stuff that they're doing. I will say that one of those brands made the uniforms at Olive Garden one time, so Bape was super cool. It was kind of a certain time, and it was extremely cool at that time. I think Supreme continues to do what they do very well. I like Supreme a lot. See, I do have opinions. I'm going to talk about them too. Just like all of a sudden in like an episode, I'm just going to be like, welcome back to the Margiela series where we're exploring every single runway show by Martin Margiela. All Rolexes are ugly.
Folks, I'd like to thank you for joining me today. We've been through a lot. We've discussed a number of things that are very important within the realm of fashion. I do hope that you will take these things that I have said to you today and incorporate them into your life. take your thoughts and put them into the comments section and engage in other people's comments, commenting on other comments. Good discussion is very important. Join my Patreon.